Hey everyone, Jess here with JobStream AI, and I'm with my co-founder and business partner, Adonis McReynolds. And today's video is a juicy one because we are going to get into what do hiring managers actually want in today's market. So, a lot of people understand that there are really high standards and they feel like they meet those standards, but they still don't really understand like what exactly are the standards and why are these standards here and how can I, be exactly what the employer wants. So that's why we're going to get into it in this video and I'm really excited.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, there really is no way of knowing what every employer wants. Some employers are different than others. It'd be kind of like saying, well, what does Jess want versus what Adonis wants, right? Like, we may have different ideas of like what's exciting and what we would find great in somebody we want to work with. Now, we have a lot of things in common, which is why we work together, but every employer is going to have different things that really excite them. Now, there are some things that are universally wanted by employers, and that's really what we're going to focus on today. Is like universally speaking, like generally, like 90% of employers in the market are going to want the things that we're talking about. So I think we should definitely cover them because if you fall into this category and you're not seeing success, it could be, something else, right? There's a million different reasons for why someone might not be getting a job. We would have to look at your specific situation and kind of assess, like, okay, this is why we think that this is going on. But for the most part, we'll know if you don't meet these criteria and you don't meet what we're going to talk about here today, it's probably going to be a good indication that maybe it's time to rethink some things, right? And so we'll talk a little bit about that as we go forth. Jess, did you want to talk about the first thing that hiring managers are really looking to get in, or what do they really want? What is the first thing that comes to mind?
Yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind is actually a very shocking answer that I don't think a lot of people would think, but it really is control and leverage over you to ensure unity and compliance with company goals and decisions. So that's really interesting because, of course, when you hear like, oh, someone wants to control me, like that doesn't sound super fun. But in a way, that is what makes you the perfect candidate because there are bosses and there are employees, and there's nothing wrong with either or. Some people are suited to be leaders, and some people are suited to be followers, and you just want to be happy in whatever you're doing. So if you really are looking to get a job, and the hiring manager wants someone that isn't going to be a boss and a leader because then they're kind of going to butt heads, clash. They're going to, possibly take over the company or leave with the clients or whatever. So they are looking for someone that they feel is in that follower position. And
Yep,
I
and
think you
staying
hit
in
it.
this lane because it's so important to really kind of stress here. Stress here it's not always the aspect of control per se. Like you hope that most of the leaders in today's society aren't trying to control or manipulate people. I mean, certainly there's a lot of people that are. They do want people though that want to be led, right? And so there's a huge difference between wanting extreme autonomy to the point where it's like don't tell me what to do or how to function in my role versus like no, I want your insights, I want to be under you so that way I can learn and consistently be under your direction. They don't want to bear, the typical employer does not want to hire somebody who is like taking 100% responsibility or trying to take over the company, right? And the types of people that would do this, you might be wondering who does this. Well, entrepreneurs do this, right? Like people who have an entrepreneurial mind or think that they know better than the CEO because maybe they were a CEO in the past or maybe they've ran their own business and they're like, dude, I've done this before. Why doesn't he just do what I say because I've done this? Well, the whole point of being CEO is calling your own shots. So when you have somebody else challenging you within the company and being like, yo, this is how we should do it, and then you can't agree, naturally the employer is not going to want to keep somebody on you know, who's basically trying to run the ship, right? So if you're the consultant type or you've been an entrepreneur, here's just a little bit of our feedback. Like we've noticed that there's a strong resistance to hiring people who've been a consultant for years or have been a CEO right before. And the reason why is because number one, it can be very expensive to hire such a person, and then that person is not bound to stay because that person has already demonstrated a level of self-sufficiency where if they disagree with the way that a CEO is running a business, they could be out, and that honestly terrifies a lot of hiring managers today. So that's point one. What's point two, Jess? You got some more for our audience here?
Oh, yes, definitely. We're just getting started. So, another point, which is pretty obvious now, is somebody who understands the AI landscape. So, as we know, like AI is here to stay. It's going to only get more and more prevalent and more powerful, and it is really a tool. So, one thing I see on the internet, which I really agree with, is that AI is not going to replace humans, but AI is going to replace humans who don't know how to use AI. So, if you don't know how to use it as a tool, you're in trouble. And it's probably one of the biggest skills that hiring managers are looking for right now.
Yeah, we agree 100% on that, Jess. Quite frankly, if you don't know how to use AI, I mean, I don't know what you've been waiting for, right? Like, it's not going anywhere. It's always going to be here, as Jess just said. And yeah, people are being replaced left and right with it today, specifically people that have very easy skills to replicate, right? Like data entry, like just simple admin stuff that AI can do. People have to level up. They have to get to realize that there's just about AI for everything. Graphics design is really hurting right now, like people who are in that, because AI, quite frankly, can do it for much less. I mean, I know of AI right now that could make all of my slides and decks super pretty, right? Without me even having to be an artist. And I get all the say and like what it looks like. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of industries that are affected by AI being taking over that space, as you know, Jess. And we have to be very aware of what those industries are and try to stay away from industries where we know AI can outperform us and really learn high income skills that AI can't replicate right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the best high income skills is learning how you can leverage AI to be the best for the hiring manager. So you come in and you're, because AI obviously still needs a human behind it in some capacity. You need someone to prompt, you need someone to refine, you need someone to edit. So if you are that person, you're golden. But if you're a person who's like, I don't even know what ChatGPT is, I've never heard of DeepSeek, that now you're in trouble. So,
Yeah, yeah. We say that, lovingly, like, hey, let's get our act together, right? Like, we know that this is coming. We know that this is going to be part of our future. You either embrace it or you don't embrace it and you deal with the consequences, right? So that's that on that topic, right? There's just no ands, ifs, or buts. You just gotta learn it, and that's it. The third thing that I would say is really important, and this is something that we help people with in JobStream AI, is people want highly educated. You're either very highly educated, you went to a very specific school. Personally, I didn't go to school, so like I wouldn't fit a lot of like the criteria here, like in terms of the schooling stuff. But they also really appreciate and fall in love with people who demonstrate strong subject matter expertise, which is something that here at JobStream AI we really want to help our people with. Help learning how to communicate in your industry, your space, and be able to impress employers by understanding the subject matter and being able to articulate it very, very well. I know my subject matter when it comes to what I do and the type of work that's going on. But a lot of people, it's shocking to find out like they're just not experts on their space, and so or they don't know a lot about things that few people know how to do, right? So it's about the type of information that you know and understand. Like if I'm a subject matter expert at making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, that's not worth very much, right? But if I'm a subject matter expert when it comes to generating amazing leads for your business, like voila, like let's roll, right? So learn to be a subject matter expert in things that matter to businesses today. That clarification has to be made, and hiring managers, they're always looking to hire people who are uniquely gifted in subject matter expertise that not many people are talking about, that's rare, that improves their bottom line. What's next, Jess? What are you seeing?
absolutely. And so I would also say, and this is pretty obvious, but it's important, somebody who is reliable and works well with others.
Mm,
So that is actually a huge issue. As a boss and that has worked with many employees, I can tell you that it's actually very shocking how few people are reliable. You're paying them, so you think like, okay, I'm paying them, they're gonna show up for the job, they're gonna be happy, like the interview went well, whatever, and they just don't. They'll either ghost you or they'll, just do like the worst thing you've ever seen, and you're like, oh, I thought you knew what you were doing. And or they won't work well with others. They'll be really good at what they're doing, but they're just not a team player, they're not involved, they don't care. So like that obviously is a huge problem. It sounds obvious, but it is surprising how hard it is sometimes to find really like good reliable people who will show up, who will put in the effort every single day. Or there's always emergencies, there's always things that happen, that's no problem, but you definitely have to communicate, and a lot of people just won't. They'll just go dark. Like literally it happened to my friend the other day. She's a manager and her employee didn't show up and she called her and the employee was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I overslept. I'll log on in 10 minutes. An hour and a half went by. She never logged on. She had to call her again. And she was like, yeah, I fell asleep. So sorry. Like, I don't know how people do that because just talking about that stresses me out.
Honestly, yeah, I mean, you make perfect points there, and working well with others is a must. Like today, I mean, the fact of the matter is no one is successful alone, and if you don't learn how to play well with others, then you're going to be a cancer to your team. Your work family, if you will, is not going to be able to succeed if there's a member of it that's just railing against the system, causing problems internally, causing strife. And so one has to learn to be emotionally intelligent. Not everything is worth crying about, right? So if there's something that's bothering you, it's very important to learn how to manage that. And sometimes people are going to bother you, or things are going to happen internally with the company, or your situation could change in such a way where it's like if you really want to survive there and still thrive, you got to keep quiet about it within the company walls. Like if you want to see somebody on the outside, whatever it is that you're dealing with, and get that off your chest, like that's the time. But there are some things that if you want to stay at a company, you just don't really engage in internal dialogue about. So learning how to be a good judge of when to bring things up, when not to bring other things up, and be a good team player, where you have your teammates back, you earn their trust, and they have your back, and that creates a really good culture and work environment if everyone's playing by the same rules and everyone's trying their best to get along, right? That's a huge one. Another one that really comes to mind for me is you got to be somewhat willing to shake hands in real life. COVID is long gone now. Some people may not like this message, but it's true that most hiring managers today are also over COVID. Like we're past this point in time where we all need to shelter in place and wear masks. It's time to get out again, and start meeting people. Especially if you're in a client-facing type of a service. We service a lot of sales professionals. We service a lot of marketing professionals. If you're an IT or software engineer or somebody like that, obviously there's not as much of a need. But for us salespeople, marketing people, get out there and start shaking some hands again, right? It's time to start building a real life Rolodex. Start meeting real people. I mean, certainly you could do this too. There's no harm, no foul with that. But a lot of employers today, especially the ones that want hybrid or they're wanting somebody who works in a specific area of the city, um, yeah, part of that is let's get back to what we were doing before, which is creating real live relationships. Because as much as we do this type of a thing over video, it's just isn't the same as meeting somebody in person. So that's just another thing to throw in there that hiring managers are looking for. Any finishing thoughts, Jess, as we kind of wrap up this particular section?
Yeah, for sure. So, and then I think we mentioned like yeah, someone who's a specialist and not a generalist. So that definitely ties into being well educated and demonstrating phenomenal expertise. So the old saying, if you're a jack of all trades, you're a master of none. So definitely pick a high income skill and double down on that, become an expert, and learn how to communicate that. And I think that also brings us to our last point, which is somebody who is a good communicator and is resourceful because that is super important. You could be a master, you could be amazing at AI, you could be highly educated, but if you can't communicate that in an interview, then there's no chance you're going to get hired. So it really is the most important.
Some of these things JobStream AI cannot do for you. We cannot make you a more agreeable person. We cannot make you a more resourceful person. We can't make you somebody that's going to get along with others. So certainly some of these things have to be perfected within yourself, right? These are things that you have to work on. And we can't make you learn AI. We can't make you, do anything that we've just discussed, right? These are specific traits that make a candidate unique, makes them stand out from the rest. So if you want to be that special person for somebody else, like by all means, like, that this is stuff to work on. And if you don't, you don't, right? And so either you're forced to either just kind of, try to keep doing things the way that you've been doing them, or you can become a consultant or your own business owner and try to, get away doing the things that you do as a private business owner, right? Either way, JobStream AI is here to help you, right? If you want to be a full-time employee, we've got all the tips and tricks. And if you've been trying and you feel like you possess all of the skills that we've been talking about, come talk to us because we do believe we have a foolproof strategy that is helping people who are really meeting the criteria we've just discussed to land jobs and land jobs quickly. And then also, if you're somebody who isn't really for all of these rules or does not want to be led, so to speak, they want freedom. Me and Jess can totally relate to that because that's who we are. We don't really fit the mold of an employee. Then come see us as well. We're experts at helping consultants build businesses and maintain quality and longevity, right? So that's all we have for today. And Jess, any closing statements?
No, that's really sums it up. So we are here for either there's no wrong answer. You could be a leader, you could be a follower. Either one is great, and we're here to serve you and your capacity. And we have our identity framework, which we talk about in another video, to help you pinpoint exactly who you are and what's going to make you the happiest. So come to us no matter what, and we're here for coaching. We can't force you to do anything, but we are here to help you do everything that you need to do.
Amen.